Hi, welcome. This is Mortality and Tea. I'm your host, Amy Manning. This is a show where we explore our own experience of death in hopes that we find a more rich and juicy life. Today on the show, we have one of my dear oldest friends. Her name is Jamie Fenix Foster. She lives in Olympia, Washington, with roots in Texas and Ohio. She moved to Washington in 2017 to pursue her passions of herbalism and conscious dreaming. In 2018, she completed a 17-year training as a dream ambassador, learning to navigate the many realms of dreaming for healing and soul recovery. Today, she teaches online conscious dreaming courses and facilitates healing sessions for soul recovery and personal empowerment. She is also a certified herbalist specializing in plant medicines of the Pacific Northwest. Welcome to the show. Here's our conversation. Mortality and Tea with Amy. Well, thank you for being on the show, Phoenix. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Really good.
Yeah, good.
Glad to be here.
And you're all the way in Washington,
Yes.
the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How's it doing in Washington today?
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We had a thunderstorm roll in this morning, and it's been real soft, peaceful rain most of the afternoon. Perfect day for a cup of tea and a conversation with a dear friend.
Yes, yes. So for the viewers, Phoenix is a very old friend of mine. We've known each other since high school, and I'm really honored to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being on the show with me. This really means a lot to me. Phoenix and I have quite a bond through death, as death has been our gift in our life to each other. It's been something that's held us together in a way. So,
helped us grow.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Do you have your cup of tea?
I do. Have a cup of tea.
Clink,
Cheers. Clink, clink.
Cheers. What kind of tea are you drinking?
Chaga tea, of course. The tea of mortality.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Are you ready?
I am. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little something about yourself?
I'm a professional Oneironaut. And I figured that you would be like, what is an Oneironaut? Oneironautics is the study of the dream realm. And it's a word that I just love.
It's a great word, Oneironaut.
Oneironaut. And I can officially say that now because I just completed my first online course, 6-week course with 22 students who went all the way through to the end. And it's been an accumulation of a life's work. It's actually what I did with my senior thesis in college at Antioch University, where I graduated in 2009. So all this time, but I really originally began working with Robert Moss, who's been my teacher in the dreaming realm since 2006. So the passion was already there when I started going to Antioch. And so since they allow you to design your own major, I wrapped it around dreaming. And I've been doing it ever since. And I'm finally, I feel like a little bit like the mama phoenix kicked me out of the nest and was just like, fly, you're supposed to do this now. And as we've moved into quarantine, all of the work that I had previously done, and with my friend who's also doing this work and had established her online presence already, just very easily we were able to take flight. Basically, we started teaching the classes, and we just finished, like I said, 6 weeks of the first course, and people have been telling me it was life-changing and very empowering. And that's what it's all about, is harnessing the power of your dreams for personal empowerment.
That's great.
Yes.
Congratulations with that.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk to you about that, because it's such a big part of my death experience.
Okay.
Uh,
And how? How so?
well, the reason why I started working with Robert Moss in the first place. So 2006. Let's see. When did Carrie pass? Was it
1993. Carrie's my twin
93?
sister, who
Okay, yeah,
passed
yeah.
1990.
Carrie, yes, is your twin sister, and
Your best friend.
yeah, my best friend is my best friend. I still feel her presence very close.
Mhm.
Um, so that was the first, and then 6 months later, my mom passed, and so after that, well, I was 17, so my world was completely tossed.
Mm,
I really didn't know whether I was coming or going, and what was up or down, and had no idea.
mhm,
Didn't know myself, much less anything about this reality. But
mhm,
I do know that I started having really powerful dreams. And I've always been a strong dreamer ever since I was a little kid. Um, but like in particular, like I remember several times, and it hasn't happened for a while. And I invite it anytime you wish, universe, to bring me a sweet dream of Carrie. We would
mhm,
just hang out in my dreams. We'd
mhm.
go ice skating. We would go walking in the woods. We would go to the mall. We would do whatever. And I would wake up with this real visceral sense of having actually been with her.
Okay.
And and then that also started happening with my mom.
Mhm.
And I cherished those dreams. They actually got me through because it would be so sweet, and sad in a way to wake up and be like, oh, back to this dream.
Mm,
Because
mhm.
in my worldview, this is also a dream. You know, we are always dreaming.
Yes, so this is part of your beliefs, your path. Yes, that we're in a dreaming world here.
Hmm. So I started having some dreams about my mom where she was giving me information that I needed,
Mm,
information that was intentionally being withheld from me, around money and things that at 17 I didn't have a lot of control over. And as it evolved, and then I became an age where I could have a say in what was happening, it was being intentionally um, withheld. I don't want to say manipulated, but it was more like just being withheld. And so I started having these dreams from my mom where she keeps telling me about trust, was the word trust. And then fund was another word. And it took me a little while to put it together. So I call up my dad and I said, Dad, I have this dream. I'm really in a bad pinch, about to have to drop out of school. My car's about to be repoed. I need some help financially. I had this dream. Mom said that there's some money in the dream. She's telling me there's some money. Is this true? And my dad just choked all over it. He, blah, 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 well, yeah,
mm,
it's true, but you don't need that right now. I can help you out. So, and that's how that went. And then I thought, it just blew my mind. Now, aside from what was happening, like that piece blew my mind. My mom came through to the other side to tell me something very important, which turned out to be true. I was like,
wow.
how is this happening? So, um, then synchronicities, as they would say, um, it was shortly thereafter that I took my first workshop with Robert Moss,
Okay.
and we started working with dreams.
Mhm.
And one piece of that is working with dreams of the departed, which can go, pretty deep. A lot of direct communication. It's I would even say that some people who are gifted, in order to, like, people who track missing people, remote viewing, that sort of gift
Yes.
is accessible through the dream time. It is part of the dreaming.
Okay.
And it's a natural ability that all humans have if
Mhm.
we are able to, nurture it and help
Yes.
it to grow.
Okay.
So yes, so the work I'm doing in the world is very much related to the trauma that I experienced, around death and the awakening that caused in me. Uh,
Yes.
and I think you might agree with me on this piece that, like, the pain of losing people who are that close to you is so, I mean, like what you were saying earlier, how you felt like you were, tripping out after your dad died. The
Yes.
fabric of reality becomes very thin, you know.
Yes.
And also, I think our bravery kicks up quite a few notches because why not? you know, it's like, let's do these things and find it out. And if we're going to be here, then I want to know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Kind of, I love this term of leaning into it. Um, for me, in my experience, it was I could either lean into this really uncomfortable space of grief, or I could busy myself and pretend it's not there and do the crying and everything over here, but this isn't real, this being all of that pain of the grief. I'm doing a grief over here in a sense, but I started to lean into that space, which is a really a very painful space, but where it's like this awakening where it's like this veil is coming through. And yes, so I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Thing. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It really has been a gift.
I wish I would love to do a whole episode or even a whole season of this show around grief, because you and I could talk for I'm sure a very long time about grief. It's a gift. It's a gift that we don't do very well in this culture. So yeah, we could really dive into that one. But so dreaming has been part of your connection with this,
Mm-hmm.
with your relationship with death.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And the things that I've learned by working and using discipline around dreaming and the dream time is that there's many different dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
and that life absolutely goes on after this. In fact, there are schools, the Egyptians, for instance, would train for their entire lives for that moment of death, which is one of your questions that you asked about.
Mm-hmm.
That moment of death, to hold that lucidity, to be awake inside the dream. And in order to have that lucidity at the moment of your death, you really need to have a discipline with your dreaming in the waking life. And the more that you work on that so that you can have lucidity within your, as a tool, that you are regularly waking up within the dream in your regular life, then at that moment of death, with that lucidity, you can make the choices of where you're going to go, and I know that that's one of your questions though, so I'll hold back on some.
Let's go there. What as you take your final breath, as you are as you are in this space, your body is preparing, your body is in the active phase of dying. You've taken you're taking your final breath. What does that, and that goes into what do you believe happens after this life? So maybe we can marry these two questions together. It seems like that's where it's going with you. Is this
Sure?
Right? Yeah.
Sure. We kind of just dove right in. So
Sure. This is great.
However you want to steer this, I'm with you.
Or let's go into that. What is your ideal death experience then?
Ideally, I would like to know that, to see it coming, so I have a little bit of time to prepare. I would like for it to be as comfortable and at ease as possible. With as little drama as possible. I just want it to be smooth and peaceful.
Do you want any smells in the room?
Yeah, I would love for someone to be burning copal, maybe singing. That would be lovely. Singing to me softly. One of the things that I didn't put on my bio is that I'm also a Kundalini Yoga instructor. And I thought after I'd sent it to you that it's important because the three of those really work together: the dreaming, the herbalism, and then the yoga. as someone who has been a survivor of some pretty significant trauma, I have a hard time being present in this life, being present in this body. It's real easy for me to go into the dream world and to check out, but
Mhm.
to be physically present, requires some dedication.
Mhm.
And the yoga helps me with that a lot. Kundalini Yoga, in particular, really teaches about how our spirit rides on the breath. And that breath, the prana, empowers everything. And so
Mhm.
we come in on that first breath and we go out on that first breath.
Mm.
And then they also have some beautiful mantras around. Okay, so in their teaching, and like the Sheik teaching, when you leave your body, there's this journey that you go on, and they sing these beautiful chants called Nakal, and the Akal helps you to navigate out, to find that light beam and get to find your way out of the earth plane. And I love that. So if there were, and it probably, I know it will happen within my community, spiritual community there. There's a really tight fabric, and I know they will be all a calling. And it doesn't matter whether you are in the room or not. Those
Mhm.
calls send those prayers up, you know.
Mhm.
And then I also really I respect and understand that you don't you don't call that person, you don't call them back in for a while. Maybe some traditions actually don't speak their name for like
Mhm.
90 days
Oh,
because they're, you need that. Greg and I were talking about this when we reviewed the questions, that
mhm.
at that moment of death, especially if it's traumatic and you didn't have time to prepare for it, could be
Mhm.
really hard for souls to walk away from that body.
Mm.
And let's say like after a car accident and your body is just you're obviously not, you can't get back in there,
Mhm.
and it can be hard to walk away from your loved ones in your life. So that's part of the, I think, the intention behind not really speaking their name for a little while, so that
Mhm.
they can get through the gates and not hear you calling them back, like they, that
Right.
um so I believe that, and I can see that that would be really nice.
Mhm.
uh, I'd also to really like to be close to nature, not near a lot of man-made things. At home is fine, but if for some reason like I was in a hospital, I would want my family to take my body outside. I
Mhm.
feel like there's a real important, ability to leave with nature kind of supporting and holding you, because ultimately that's, we came from it and we return to it.
You
So
really value nature and your relationship with Mother Earth.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you want anybody to hold you or touch you or as you're preparing for your final breath?
I would like that. I would like someone to hold my hand.
Mhm.
And like I said, basically singing to me. I really like that idea of the singing. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially being someone who's, just some of my experiences with healing. I've had quite a few curanderas that I've worked with, Mexican healers, the songs are just so powerful. That vibration. Um, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would like that.
Okay. Um any sights in the room, anything to look at, or if you were outside, well, if you were outside, you would want to be looking at different plants and earth, I suppose, if you were outdoors. Um any other sights you could think of, things that you would want to see?
Greg and Luna's face,
Mm.
our faces.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So as your ideal death experience, you are preparing for your final breath.
Hmm.
You are wanting some chants, possibly Kundalini. Um, you are wanting somebody to sing softly to you, maybe hold your hand, some copal or something burning. Um, and to see Greg and Luna's face. I might have already said that. But so now your body is in the active phase of dying and you're taking your last breath, and it is now your last breath. in this human form and your body is gone. Is there anything you would want done with your body in that moment right after, with your family doing anything with your body, or anything like that?
Um, well, I know that after experiencing a number of deaths, um, I would like it to be as little drama and as little drama and as little trauma, and that's every day, not just that day, but as possible. I would like somebody who's pretty emotionally stable and strong to find me, to be that one. And like I said, if I'm in a hospital, I'd like to be taken outside. I'd like to have that some kind of connection to nature. But otherwise, I'm not too concerned about it. Um, I am more excited about and intrigued and preparing for what comes next. And
Hmm.
Greg and I had a lot of fun talking about this just a little while ago. Um, because it is so related to dreaming, and because it is part of the great mystery, and because I am certain that I have done this before, and so, you know, I want to get it right.
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah. um
Tell me more about this. We were talking about earlier with the lucidity, as your, just tell me more about that. We were talking about that, the lucidity, and you had brought up some Egyptian.
well,
um
have you have you ever had a dream where you knew you were dreaming, a lucid dream?
yes. Yes. Hmm.
So that is the goal, to have that lucidity. And so one of the ways that we practice this, that does come from the Egyptian school of dreaming,
Hmm.
is that we regularly re-enter our dreams. So we intentionally dream with consciousness. Uh,
Okay.
and so this is a way of practicing and preparing for this, and it helps you maintain that lucidity in your nighttime dreams also. Um, so when you, for people who've never experienced this, you basically, let's say you had, a simple nighttime dream,
Hmm.
um, and but it was vivid, and you remember a place and some things that happen. Well, you basically get really comfortable, and you use meditation. You can use, some people use drumming, some people use rattles, some people, just eventually you get to where you don't need those tools, you just can kind of slide in and out of it.
Mm.
But you re-enter that space consciously, and you allow it to replay in your mind like a video or a movie. But you walk through it again slowly, maybe forwards and backwards. You get
Yes.
more information. You ask characters questions. You see if you can change things. And there are some common rules to the dream world, just like there are physical rules here. There are rules in the dream world, and there are, like most dreams, you can change things, but you can't change all things. Like you can't change lights. That's always a good one. That's a good way
Mm.
to get yourself lucid. It, like in a dream, if you go to try to turn on a light and it won't turn on, well, then there's your signal, and that can immediately give you the lucidity.
Mm.
So one way to train yourself, like that's a different topic, maybe I shouldn't go into all that of how to get there, but you want to use some tools to practice getting yourself lucid inside the dream.
Okay.
um, and and just working with the nighttime dreams, our higher selves, our ancestors, our dearly departeds, our guides are always working with us in the dream time. We are absolutely co-creating this reality. And I've heard multiple accounts of people who also will dream of place,
Mm.
where they've been contacted by spirits or ancestors who need to get a message through to that time, and you're the most available person who is actually dreaming, so here's a dream, right?
Mhm.
So, in a lot of cultures who were really paying attention to these things and honoring them, would had given them tools to use. Like, what do you do with this? How do you share this within your community and work with it?
Yes.
And if you were really good at it, you would become, the community shaman. That's really a Western word, but the medicine person, or
Mm.
psychopomp is the word the Egyptians would use to refer to someone who's trained in the dreaming, who is a dream healer.
Okay.
And so, yes, yes. So these practices get you ready, and
Okay.
they not only do they get you ready, but they also create healing. So when something happens to us that's traumatic, like for instance, like a shared experience for us is when we lost Carrie. That was very, very traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Hmm.
something is more than you can handle emotionally, um, many, many people experience what is known as soul loss. So a part of your soul actually going into another dimension is the best way I can describe it. Going into their own dream, not coming back. Like, this is too painful. I can't be here. And so, one of the things that I'm trained to do is to go into the dream time in this conscious way to help people locate those missing parts and bring them back and integrate them into their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hugely powerful work.
Yes.
It's so empowering. It's so good.
Yes.
And, and I would not have this gift had I not had to experience soul shattering grief myself,
Mm-hmm.
pull myself out of it by my bootstraps.
Yes.
So, so
Yes.
yeah, love
So
the subject.
so in your ideal experience with death, as you're laying on your deathbed, you will be going through these processes of your lucidity, and you'll be doing, from what I'm hearing you say, you'll be doing work, healing,
Yeah.
healing, trying to create a lucid dream, if you will, and preparing your soul. Would you call it a soul for the departure of the body? Okay.
I
Okay.
would, but I think probably while I'm laying there, I'm just going to be swimming in my love for,
Okay.
this particular lifetime.
Okay.
My guess is we do, and my understanding is there's a review period. That's part of that, a call, like period where you're going through some gates. Both the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and the Popol Vuh, the Mayan Book of the Dead, talk about some of these gates, and those are both. Amy, you would probably enjoy both of those,
Yeah, I'm
exploring.
writing down. I'm going to pick your brain for some books when we're done.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And they're old texts, so they're kind of thick to swim through, but worth it. Um,
I suppose the listeners might be interested in any of these books, so
yeah,
name them if you want. Sure.
yeah. Well, the Popol Vuh it's basically like the Mayan Book of the Dead, and it talks of the Mayan underworld and the gates and the spirits that you encounter there.
Hmm.
And the Egyptian Book of the Dead, similarly, is to get you prepared for these gateways.
Okay.
You'll often see the symbol of the scales is your heart light as a feather,
Mm.
and that speaks of regrets. you know
Uh,
I think it's a real gift in a way to see your death coming, which we
mhm,
all do. I mean,
mhm.
we're all going to die. But
Yes.
to have a little bit of, if you have a terminal illness and you can prepare a little bit, I think maybe that's helpful.
Hmm.
If you haven't done previous work, to get ready.
You do the work. You either do it while you're living or you do it on your bed while you're dying, and it's hard work.
Mhm.
And it can be very scary for some people when they're laying on their deathbed to do it. It's very intense. So for me, I'd rather do it now while I'm living.
Mhm. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's
Oh
that's
wow.
what it's all about. So,
You're here to prepare to die. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh wow. Hmm.
as someone who survived some really, really, intense stuff as a child, I went through many years of feeling suicidal. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I've worked through, within this work, is that it doesn't, you're just going to do it again. But, the process of getting a body takes a lot of effort, and it's not something to be, taken lightly. It's like, make the most of it while you're here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So we touched a little bit on the afterlife or after death. What are your beliefs around what happens after you die? So you've taken your last breath and your body is left behind. What happens with you, your essence, your soul, your spirit?
Hmm. Well, I guess that is the great mystery, isn't it? The
Mm.
great question.
Yes. Hmm.
I don't know.
That's a great answer.
I don't know, but
Respect.
I'm not afraid, and I'm actually a little bit excited. And
Mm,
I think, and I think that's a gift for any of us who have experienced extreme grief around losing loved ones who are close to us. It's like
mhm,
I feel like I've always had one foot in the other world ever since starting with Carrie.
mm, mhm,
Part of me has always wanted to be there,
mm.
and so any way that I could explore it deeply, and find out more information, and that's the beautiful thing about the great mystery of this life is that one question always leads to another. And the mystery just goes on, and clearly taking many lifetimes to figure it out.
Mhm. One question always leads to another.
Mm.
Like that. Um, so my next question then, which I actually got these last two questions from you, which kind of stem from Robert Moss. And these were great questions. So I thank you for that, my friend, as I've been doing this journey with this show. Um, but it's the two questions about regrets. So what do you regret not having done in your life at this moment? If you were to die today, would there be a regret that you have of not doing something?
I guess I would be sad that I didn't get to go to Egypt with Luna, but because I've totally dreamed that we have before she even entered my life. Like I know she's my
Your beautiful
Uh,
2-year-old
yeah,
daughter.
that's going to be special. But then the other thing is like I have been. Greg knows this already. It's like my final wish would be to be cremated, and then for them to take my ashes on some epic adventure that I would want to go on, right? And
Yeah.
if I haven't gone to Egypt with her yet, then Egypt will work. But if I have, then anywhere else, go on a jungle safari, go to the Galapagos Islands or something,
Yes.
something epic.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Cool. And is there a moment you regret in your life, or do you have any regrets?
I don't really. And it's, and I don't say that lightly
Sure.
because it is hard ass work,
Yeah,
you know,
I
but
can relate.
yeah, um, I don't really have regrets, but I do have some wishes. I
Mhm.
wish that my mom had been embodied longer because I lost her so young, and so there's been a lot of big gateways that I've of course had a lot of amazing, powerful, strong people in my life to help me move through some gateways, but I definitely have. There's always the longing and the missing. But and another piece on that I'd like to share for anybody who's watching this, if
Mhm.
you're finding yourself thinking, "I don't dream.
Mhm.
I don't ever remember my dreams. I don't dream."
Mhm.
You really look back. Almost everyone. I've never met anyone who can't remember any dream. At some point in their life, you've had a dream. And
Mhm.
if you can remember what that last one was, what that big dream was, that is a signal of soul loss. So sometimes what will happen is if a dream, is bringing us significant healing or message, and
Mm.
we are unable to, we don't work with it. Maybe it's too much, we close it down and we push it out.
Right.
Um, then the dreams will stop.
Mm.
And some of the biggest healings that I've been blessed to participate in have been using those old dreams to go back to that point in the evolution of your human to find why did you stop dreaming? to
Right.
find that soul loss regarding that. So anyway, food for thought for anyone who's watching, if you feel like.
Yes. Great info. Great tips. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, those are the questions that I had. Is there anything else that you want to share about your own death experience or your own beliefs about death before we wrap up?
I guess I would just share how important it is to keep doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have regrets around the way you treated someone, apologize. If
Yes.
you're, you know, if you miss somebody, call them. If they're gone, do something to honor them.
Yes.
Just that's that turning towards the void, like we had spoken of earlier.
Yes. Leaning into that space that hurts.
Getting into the space and giving it action. And that's another thing that we practice within the dreaming is if you have a really beautiful dream, to pick something physical to do to honor that.
Mm.
And that's the thing about the physicalness, is that, like, as the grief moves through us, if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have a proper expression, it can make us sick, and it gets stuck there. And so when we do something, even something simple, like I love the Day of the Dead ceremony in Mexico, which
Yes.
is really about honoring,
Yes.
their ancestors, and they
Mhm.
celebrate. They might, their grandmother, they might build a beautiful altar to her and make her favorite treats that she likes, and fill
Yes.
the whole thing with cakes and cookies and colorful flowers, and acts like that, expressions of the heart, bring healing and allow that stuck energy to move through.
Yes. So being doing an action with that is what I heard you say, an action.
Hmm.
Yes. And I will add to what you said too, is that in my own studies on death is, and we had just touched on this earlier, is that we will do the work. We will do it, whether we do it in our life and get a chance to really feel the fruit of that labor, or we do it on our deathbed, or we don't get a chance to do it and maybe we have to come back and do it again. I don't know. But there is a lot of fruit to the labor of doing that work, of wrapping up loose ends or apologizing or taking that trip or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Mhm. It has a place. It belongs, and it does
Hmm.
have, it has closure to it.
And don't wait. Like, if you find some little treasure and you want to give it to someone, and you're like, I'm going to stick it in my closet and wait till Christmas, give it to them right now. Christmas is not promised.
Yes.
And that's another thing that I really realized. And I just live it to the fullest. Take the
Mhm.
chance, quit the job, move, speak
Mhm.
your voice, do your stuff,
Yes.
get it out
Yes.
there. So that at the end, when you're laying there in that review period, you're going to be like, all right, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, absolutely. This was such a fun and beautiful conversation. I hope you all have enjoyed it just as much as I have. I learned so much from each and every one of these conversations that I have with all of these guests that we've had so far. And I want to really extend my gratitude to Jamie Fenix Foster and her family. Um, Also, for all the other interviews I've done so far, I really have so much gratitude to the persons who have taken their time to share their very vulnerable experience. And I want to thank their families for helping um, and for giving their time as well as we explore this topic of our own death. Um, as far as this conversation went with Phoenix today, Jamie Corson, Phoenix Foster, um, I love it. She said, "One question always leads to another," and that isn't that so true with life. I tell my daughters a lot, ask a lot of questions, be curious in this life. Always keep asking questions. It's how we find more curiosity, more fulfilling lives, more juiciness. So, with that, ask some questions, explore your own death. By all means, have a cup of tea. Thank you. Goodbye. Mortality and Tea with Amy.